Becky from powertoolswiththread.com. That's my blog. All right, we are on Santa number 3. To me, this is the toughest one yet. And I think the big issue was, and this is something I'm going to go through here in just a minute, I actually used the Fcm files. Those are cut files. And some of the designs that were purchased recently have SVG cut files in them. When I got my design over a year ago, it did not have SVG files, but it did come with Fcm files. I found them to be just a tad too small, so they need to be enlarged by at least 2 clicks. I would recommend doing a test. And I even found that, like, if the one for the hat fit fine, the one for the brim did not. I'm actually glad that this happened because we avert a near disaster. And the disaster is you don't want your satin stitching not to catch the edge of your fabric. And that's exactly what happened, but I was able to fix it. And then I show you how to fix that. Also, I wanted to make a correction. Thank you very much for letting me know. I believe it was Anne. The Kingstar thread, that metallic thread from Dime, it doesn't have a silk core. It has a poly core with rice paper wrapped around it with the metallic fibers on that. So still made in Japan, but it's made with rice paper instead of silk. Sorry, I should have looked it up before I told you guys. It was late. I also finished number 3 on the big machine. His name's Spanky, I've decided. Did that one. He turned out awesome. Just super cute. I really like it. I got out of order. I made number 3 instead of number 2, so I'm going to work on number 2 here in just a little bit. Both of these fabrics are, again, those batiks that I got from the Grab Bag Missouri Star. Also, one of you reminded me, and you caught it, that I did not trim away, on number 2, I did not trim away the batting. Well, I did. I went back and did it, so I've removed it out of there. If you forget to do that, you just have to fold both of these pieces back. Don't cut it all off. Just fold them back. See what I did? I folded the stabilizer under, and then I folded this back, and then I trimmed it to about 1/8 of an inch on all 4 sides. Okay? So that's how I did that. But that still leaves me that 1/2 inch all the way around. I think we're ready to get started. Okay, we're going to cut the pieces using the Brother Scan and Cut. You can do this with any cutting machine. You just need to follow your manufacturer's directions, but I'm going to show you how to do it with the Brother Scan and Cut using the Brother Canvas. So we're going to click on, once you get to canvasworkspace.brother.com, and this is the page that you land on, and there's all kinds of cute projects you can make. It is free to create an account on here. And then once you have this, you click New. It comes up with a 12 by 12 mat, which is the standard size mat for your scan and cut. And we are going to import the Fcm file that comes with the Santa Table Runner. And how you do that is, there is an icon up here that says SVG, and you'll see it says Import SVG, DXF, and Fcm file. You click that, and it gives you an opportunity to choose the file somewhere on your computer. So you just click Choose File, and you want to navigate to where you filed your table runner files. So here is mine, and I'm making the 6 by 10. Here are the instructions we've all been using. I'm going to double click that. We're making Santa 3. Here it is. And if you have a hard time finding these, you can tell the file types right here. Now, if your computer comes up and it looks like this, let's say, well, how do you know what's what? I mean, we know that's an internet file. Now, I can see this. This is the Fcm file, and I can see this because I have a utility on my computer called Embrilliance Thumbnailer, and it allows me to see Fcm and PES file formats. You can configure this to see any kind of format that your embroidery machine uses. I have mine set for PES and FCM. But you see, you can't tell that it's an FCM. It doesn't tell you that. And so what you want to do is either over here, it may say view, or if it doesn't say view over here, you can come over here and there's another, and you can click on that and you can go to details. See, if you go to list, it still doesn't tell you exactly what is what. And so you want to go here and click details. That tells you everything about the file, the date modified, the type of file that it is, and how large it is. And you can just click on type and it will sort them alphabetically. And that's an easy way to find the FCM file. So I have highlighted FCM. I'm going to click open and I'm going to click OK. And there it is. When the file is first uploaded into Canvas Workspace, if you click on it, it is one solid object. Well, we don't need one solid object. We need to be able to separate these parts and pieces. So once it is highlighted, you click on it one time. You want to right-click and ungroup. Now it is all separated. You want to remove those parts that we don't want to cut. I don't need, this is the stitch for the background fabric. I don't need that, so just highlight it by clicking it once and hit the delete key on your keyboard. There we go. Here is the shirt fabric. I do not need that cut. I'm going to hit delete. And everything else I want to cut. And what you want to do is think about cutting things with squares of fabric. So I want to cut all the white together at one time. I think I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it over here. And I'm going to take the hat band and I'm going to put it here and kind of turn it to compress space and move this over here. Here is the hat. I'm going to put a red square of fabric up here in the corner. Here is the face. I'm going to put a rectangle of face fabric right here. Here is the beard. I'm going to put this down here. So the whole half of this mat will be nothing but white fabric. And here is the icing on the plum pudding. I'm going to put a cream colored fabric square right there. And here is the plum pudding. And I think I'm going to put this right about there. The way you can kind of tell what to do is you can faintly see, let me make this bigger. See how you can faintly see these lines? Think about how that will tell you how large you need to make your squares or your rectangles of fabric. So let's put this up here. So now I know I can cut a square of fabric that is 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3. I can do a 3 by 4 square of fabric and put it up here in this corner and it will be cut properly and it's enough for the hat. So that's kind of how I do it. And I want to turn this and make this straight. This does not matter at this point. So now I know this will be a 2 by, I count whole squares. If it goes into the square even a little bit, I count it as a whole square. So this rectangle can be 1, 2 by 5. This dotted line in the middle is your 6. Okay, and it is kind of made into 4 different quadrants. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll scroll down. Here's another one. If I put this like this, and I just don't want this because my square might come down to here because of the bottom of the face, I want this to be within this little part of these dots right here. And then this I can put right here. So it looks like I can do pretty good squares or rectangles of fabric and have everything fit. This one, I'm just going to move it down. I know that this needs to be a 6 by 6 piece of fabric right here. So I'm just going to cut a 6 by 12 piece of fabric and put it on there and call it good. And that way it's all one piece. Now, because I'm going to have heat and bond on the back of the fabric pieces, I need to invert them. And the way to do that is to put your cursor up in the corner and drag that all the way across. And you want to go right click, group, and come up to edit. And you want to mirror it horizontally. There. Now everything is inverted. Now before you send it to the machine, you need to ungroup it. Otherwise, you won't be able to move them around individually so they fit on your fabric. Once you send it down as one whole object, you're kind of stuck. So I'm going to highlight it again, and I'm going to right click and ungroup. And that's it. I'm told, someone has made a comment, that you will need to increase the size by 1 to 2 clicks on the scan and cut, and I will show you how to do that when we go to cut out the fabric. So we are all finished with this, and now I'm going to download, and it wants to know, do you want to download it to your PC or to the scan and cut? I want to download it to my scan and cut. Make sure your machine is on. And it is all done and ready to go. We're going to close this and start cutting our fabric. Okay, so here we are at the scan and cut, and the screen is not flickering. If you see a flicker in the screen, I've got a ceiling fan on up above me, and it's too hot in here not to have that on, so I apologize if that's distracting. So what you want to do when you get your scan and cut turned on is just touch the screen, and it says the carriage will move to the initial position. Let me get you in here so you can see up close. I'll tell it okay. And now we need to get our pattern that we sent down from the cloud. Oh, it looks like I have an update available. I'll do that later. All right, so I already have my scan and cut connected to my router, and you can tell that your wireless is working if you've got the wireless sign here in the corner. I'm going to hit retrieve data. Where do you want to retrieve it from? You can get it from inside the machine, from the cloud, from a USB stick, or from a cable you have attached to your computer. I want to get it from the cloud, and there it is right there. Now, someone had mentioned that these pieces need to be enlarged just a little bit. Okay, we're going to touch the hat. We're going to go to the box with the stretchy arrow. And I'm just going to touch the plus sign one time on the height, and that will increase both. There we go. Click OK. And I'm going to go to the pudding. OK. I'd already done the face. Looks like this is all one object. Okay, so everything has been increased now by one click. I'm going to tell it OK. Okay, so here's my mat. I have scrubbed it off with a baby wipe and let it dry, and hopefully it's sticky enough. And I'm going to put my white fabric right here. This is that 6 by 12 piece. Paper side up, fabric side down. Here is my hat. All right, and my face. And here is the icing. And here is the plum pudding. So now you want to take your scraper and really scrape your fabric down. Uh-oh, that's not sticking that well. I'm concerned. I hope this sticks. If it doesn't, it's going to try to tear it. We'll give it a shot. Okay. So let's scan in. We're going to put the arrow to the front, and I'm going to hit the load button. It looks like a mat there on the side. So we have done all the editing, and I'm going to tell it okay. And then the next menu, right here, there's a button that looks like a mat, and it has a bar across it. That's to scan your mat. I'm going to tell it okay and start. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a page out of Terry Maffitt's book, and I'm going to tape down the top of this fabric because I don't think it's sticky enough. She's shown that that works. If you tape the corners, better safe than sorry, because I don't want to do this again. What we need to do is make sure, and it looks like it looks like it's almost perfect. Okay, so there's the hat. Move it so it's just in the center. Can you see up close? Yes, okay. So the face is in the center of the face fabric. The frosting is in the center of that. I'm going to fussy cut that. I want to have a little dot. Right, I can see there's a polka dot on that. Move this down just a tiny bit. And it looks like the beard, the hat, and the pom-pom are all going to cut just fine. Oh, they're not one object. Look at that. I'm going to get it away from the sides. Sometimes that can make life a little bit easier. Okay. Select, cut. There we go. Okay, we're all finished, and I'm going to do one more crazy thing here. I am going to also cut a piece of Cutaway stabilizer because I want it to, I'll need it to put behind the fabric pieces that are light, where the background fabrics will show through. So I'm going to do that. I thought about doing 2 pieces of fabric, but they have to have some kind of stabilizer on the back of them. And you don't want 2 pieces of fabric covered with heat and bond on them. They become very stiff. And I think that's not what I'm really, I mean, you can do it, but that's not really what I'm looking for in my project. So now I'm going to, that's all finished, okay, and eject my mat. So I'm just going to put a piece of stabilizer, Cutaway stabilizer, on the mat. I'm going to tape it down so it stays where I want it. And then I'm going to cut, I can cut them all, but I don't need to cut the hat and or the plum pudding base, but this should be fine. I can go in there and edit and delete those that I don't need cut, but I'm not going to. So let's try this. And I'm going to let me load the mat. And cut and start. All right, good. Okay, eject. Okay, we are all done with the scan and cut. Before we get started here, I just wanted to explain something. So we cut the fabric and it had heat and bond on the back, and I also cut a piece of Cutaway stabilizer. And what I've done is I ironed the fabric to the Cutaway stabilizer. That's going to make it opaque enough that you won't see the fabric underneath. When you cut fabric on the Scan and Cut, fabric is very, you know, it's pliable. It has a weave in it, and it can stretch and twist. And if you don't make it so that it's as close to paper as possible, then you're not going to have a very good result, and your blade will drag, and it's not a good thing. So the best thing to do is to stabilize it in some way, and I have chosen to stabilize mine with heat and bond, and then I iron that on. I did not want 2 layers. It actually saves you fabric. You know, stabilizer is much less expensive, and if you don't have enough fabric to do 2 layers, this is a really good alternative. But now it's just 1 piece. So all those pieces that were not going to be opaque enough to use and would have needed 2 pieces, now I only needed 1. So we are ready to get started. Okay, we're at the Luminaire. I'm going to go to Embroidery, and I need to put my Power Tools with Thread USB stick in. We've got these in 4 different colors: white, blue, yellow, and I think it's green. Okay, so I'm going to go to the pocket for the memory, and I want to go to the USB. And I want Santa 3, and that's the one with the plum pudding. There he is. And it says it doesn't have enough thread information. That's fine. I know what threads I'm going to use. I'm going to tell it OK. Set. And embroidery. And once again, I am not using the correct hoop size. So I am going to create a placement line for my batting by stitching stitch number 1 twice. If you are using the correct hoop size, you don't need to do this step. Let's see, I need to thread my needle. My batting down. One of you mentioned to me I forgot to trim my batting on Santa number 2, and that's okay. I went back and took care of that. So now I'm going to hit the needle plus minus, and I'm going to go back 1 step. Oh, I went forward. Let me go 1. There we go. Now I'm going to do this again. Alright, I'm going to take this out and trim around the batting. I'm going to put the hoop back in the machine, and now it will stitch out the placement line for the background fabric. Put down the background fabric, making sure it covers. That's good. And now we're going to tack down the background fabric. Now it's time for the all-over background stippling. I could do a thread change, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to go ahead and hit the button and let it give us the placement stitch for the shirt. I forgot to cut away the bottom part of the background fabric. I'm going to just cut the threads. And I'm going to reach in and do that right now. Again, embroidery, machine embroidery and applique is so forgiving. Just across the bottom. There we go. Now I'll do it again. I'm going to put down the shirt Again, I'm not going to do a thread change. I'm just going to put this over it because the thread is going to be covered by a lot of fabric. All right, I'm going to trim off around the shoulders and across the top. There we go. That's not close enough. That's better. You want to make sure you get close enough that that satin stitch is going to cover that. And I'm going to do a thread change now and put in red for the hat. Tack down, placement stitch for the hat. All right, time to see if it fits. This has heat and bond on the back of it. I have put it right where it goes. That extra one click really seemed to help. So I have my little Clover mini iron here. I'm going to press this down. It looks like it was perfect. So thank you for the advice of enlarging by 1. You have to do that on Kimberbell designs too, unfortunately. I have found. Let me see. That's good enough for government work to hold it down. What's next? Tack down stitch. That'll work. All right, now we're going to do the satin stitching on the shoulders and on the hat. See, that satin stitching is covering that navy blue, so not that big of a deal. Just have to make sure when we sew it, when we sew all the pieces together, that you can't see the blue. Remember, if your machine does not cut the jump threads, you want to be sure to do that before you go on to your next color. Now we need to do the placement line for the face. I'm going to do a color change to white. This time, the iron-on that I had on the back of the face actually got ironed to Cutaway stabilizer. I'm going to trim this little piece. And so when you have this situation, you get out your handy dandy little Elmer's glue stick. And I'm going to put this in the middle. I'm just going to run it through here like this. It will not, you know, generally I have not found this to ever really be a problem with needles or getting gummed up or anything, but I'm just putting it in the middle so it shouldn't get hit by a needle. Let's see, that looks pretty good. Let's see if I can get that. I don't know. This could have actually gone up 2 clicks, I think, according to the outline, but it looks like, so this is going to have a line of stitching right here and around this part too. I think it'll be okay. So let's put it back in the machine. Yeah, it's barely catching. This could have gotten bigger. It's okay though. It will be fully covered by the hat band and the beard. And it did get on there a little bit. So now we're going to do the outline for the pom-pom. You know what? I might have, because this is a solid color, I might have ironed it onto the wrong side of the, I might have done it backwards. I think we'll be okay though. So I'll show you what I did here. I think this is a solid color fabric, and I think that I ironed on the wrong side and I got it the wrong way. But the hat band is going to cover this, and it's going to, the beard and everything. We might have a little bit of blue right there show, because I've got too much over here. I might take a little piece of fabric. Okay, I'm gonna go backwards, and I'm going to do another piece and put this over this. I just don't want it to be wrong, and I don't want to get too far along. Boo-boos, guys, it happens. I'm gonna go back to the tack down for the face, and I'm going to put this again. I'm going to do the needle, the up down here. There we go. And then I'm going to cut this off. I just want to make sure I got it right. Okay, now I know that this is going to be right. Now we're going to do the tack down for the brim and the pom-pom. Again, get out the glue stick. No chance of mistake here because that fabric was not solid color. So let's see, where's my pom-pom? I'll put a little dot in the middle. Although it is not a perfect circle, it is a little, there, that's good. That'll work. And then in the hat band, perfect. See, I want to make sure to cover, this is going to be a satin stitch right here, so it's going to cover all of that. And this is going to be a satin stitch up here, so that will all cover and be fine. Time for the tack down on the pom-pom and the hat band. Probably could have gone up 2 clicks on the cut. Barely catching it. I mean, it's working. Outline for the beard. And the tack down for the beard. Okay, we have a issue here where this part of the beard did not get caught. I am just going to take a tiny bit of the glue stick and push it down, and we will let the satin stitch take care of that. All right, I need a color change for the cheeks. All right, and a color change back to white for the all over satin stitching in the beard, the hat band, and the pom-pom. We'll see you back here in 10 minutes. Okay, I want to show you what happened. So this is that pre-cut piece that I did, and it just did not catch. See that? And you can tell, here's the tack down line. It is just barely catching, okay? So the Fcm file was not cut large enough, even though I enlarged it 1 click. I probably, if I do this again, I would enlarge it 2 clicks, but you can see it's just not big enough. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up, and I'm going to put another piece of fabric over this. I'm going to tack it down again, and then I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to jump forward. So I want to know, let me show you where I'm at. So we are on stitch 17, and I'm at 10,801. All right, so color change 17, 10,801. I want to write that down. And now I'm going to back up to the tack down for the hat band. So let me go backwards here. There we go. And I think I'm going to make the piece large enough because if you look here, I've got a gap also right here. So this may not be big enough either. I'm going to make the piece of fabric large enough to cover both the pom-pom and the hat band. So let me do that. Okay, now I'm going to trim away this fabric. So now I need to get back up to stitch 17 right here. I'm going to hit the up down arrow. 17. So that's where we were. Let's see. It starts here and it goes all around and it gets to here, and then it looks like it does down this corner. and then comes back up and goes around, and that's where it missed. So I'm going to get my crosshair to right there. It does all of this decorative stitching in here. Okay, so I was at 10,801, so let's go up 1,000. I'm holding this, I'm sorry. I'm going to go up 1,000. Alright, it looks like it wants to start right about there. Let me go back 100. Yeah. Okay. That looks like that's where that's going to start the underlay stitching for the satin stitch. It's kind of a crisscross zigzag. Let's try it, and let me minus some more. Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to go plus 10. And minus. Okay, that's where it's doing a lock stitch right there. So I'm going to go ahead and start right here. I think we can fix it. Yep, there we go. Now we're catching it. Wow, we made it through the white satin stitching, and I'll tell you guys, this stuff is thick. I was sitting here thinking, but for the grace of God go I, because had we not laid another, stopped it. That's one of the things when you're doing embroidery like this, machine embroidery, especially applique, when something doesn't look right, don't be afraid to stop it, analyze it, look at it. Okay, what could I do different? There's a lot going on in here, and if I had not put this additional top fabric down, there would be a dark blue spot right there. I could just tell you right now. This piece up here, the FCM file was too small. Straight up, it's too small. Y'all saw this is the 6x10 Santa. I used the 6x10 FCM files. And it's cut too small. They need to be 2 clicks bigger if you're going to do this. I just did not have this trouble when I was doing it the old-fashioned way of putting the fabric down and then trimming around the tack down line. I'm almost glad that it happened because you can see there were so many problems with this, and it turned out beautiful. I'm ready to do a thread color change. We're going to stitch out the nose. Oh my goodness, this turned out so cute. All done. I'm going to take it over to the cutting table. I'm going to take it out of the hoop. I'm going to trim it to 1/2 inch outside of this outer stitching line all the way around, and it will be finished. We'll talk to you soon.